Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews. My name is James, and here I like to explore the world of fountain pens and ink and paper, all those good things. And I really like a good clickable fountain pen. And in our test today, I'm going to share one with you that I've been a little bit surprised by because I had very low expectations for this pen. I'm going to tell you that right up front. When I saw this, as I was clicking around the interwebs, I just thought, with the little flappy door, I'll throw a picture up here so you know what I'm talking about. I just thought, there's no way that thing is going to dry out. It's going to be flimsy. It's got to be cheapy, cracktastic plastic. And so I wasn't interested. I just overlooked it and moved right on. Thought, no way. That would be nothing but a roast video, and I didn't want to do one of those at the time. So I moved on. Then I started seeing internet feedback on this pen, the Writech Clictek Tic-Tac Patty Whack Give the Dog a Bone pen. And most of what I was seeing was positive. Now, all pens are going to have both positive and negative, even the best. There are people who hate the Lamy 2000. But what surprised me was that most of the comments that I was seeing were actually pretty decent. It's not a vanishing point. It's not even a platinum Curidas. But it wasn't the lemon that I expected it to be either as I read those comments. And so I thought, you know what? Let me go ahead and get one. I want to test it. I want to see what it's really all about. Is it horrible? And if it is, I'm going to tell you. Is it any good? If it is, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to approach it with a snob factor where I just refuse to give it a chance, but I will admit that I approached it with a very skeptical eye because I don't know, the pictures did not lend themselves to me to be a successful idea on how to make one of these pens. It seemed like a simple, straightforward idea, but when you consider how much trouble some other manufacturers have had, I just wasn't really sure about this one. Anyway, long story short, I gave in. I ordered one. I wanted to see whether or not it worked, and I am surprised. So let's go over what you get here with the pen. You get first this nice case, and it's a nice sales rack case. It's curved, so I apologize for the light. Even when I pointed the light at the ceiling, somehow it still picked up a reflection just because of the curve on that. But we'll get rid of that, and then that will relieve you a little bit of all that glare. It does protect it well, and like I said, it's kind of cool. It reminds me a little bit of, what would that be, early 2000s Apple? Is that what I'm thinking of? Late 90s? The pen, we'll get to that here in just a second, is in this little cradle, and below that are your ink cartridges. Now, let me just say that this is going to be one of the things that'll be a put-off for some people. It's proprietary in its cartridges, and Writech is not a big major brand in a lot of markets like my own. You can get them right now, places like AliExpress, eBay, Amazon, things like that. And certainly, you can refill them for as long as they last. There is that. Just, proprietary cartridges are always, to me, going to be a downside. Not a deal breaker, but a downside. Unless they're hard to get, then it's a deal breaker. Then you get some instructions on how to use the pen, how to put the ink cartridge in. That does come in English, and you can snap the QR code and get a video guide. So that's all there, and there is a description of what they hope you'll think of their pen. And then we get to the pen. Now, in terms of the overall design, it's pretty straightforward. You have a barrel. Okay, there's a barrel with a trim ring, little plastic trim ring around that housing, and that's a soft, maybe silicone trim ring. And then, of course, you have the knock for the clicking mechanism. And let's just go straight to that for a second because it's actually smoother and not at all clunky, I think. Listen to this. Yeah, not bad at all. And so that was a good first impression for me when I got this pen out of the box, is that the clicking mechanism is nice and smooth. I've had no issues with it at all. It's worked just fine. And I have used the pen quite a bit over a period of weeks. And I'll tell you about some dry-to-out testing that I did as well. Now you have the Writech Clictek name. It is a medium nib, steel of course. This is about a $15 pen. And then you have a stamped steel clip, which is a little bit stiff, and that wouldn't bother me except when it is a transparent acrylic pen and of an unknown plastic to me. I like that to be springier so that it doesn't cause cracking here. So stiff clip can lead to cracking. I don't know particularly about this pen. I've not heard of anybody having that problem. It's just, a reality of any pen like this. The Platinum Preppy has that. It'll have stress up on the finial that holds the clip in place, and I've had those crack even though they're not steel. So, that's, future. Your mileage may vary, but a possibility. You come down, you can see inside the spring. So that knock presses on the cartridge, and then when it opens, it's a bit like the screen door on a submarine, or at least that was my skeptical assumption. You see, you can see why I thought that's not going to work. It's just, is that going to have a good enough seal, really? And why I thought it might be too flimsy. But so far, so good. Now, this is, a month of use. This is not a year of use, so take all of that with a grain of salt. If at any time that door breaks, I am going to come back to the channel and let you know. And the reason I'm concerned about durability is you can see that it's flexible plastic here that holds the lid to the pen and bends and flexes, enabling it to open and close. Now, it's lovely in its simplicity, but my question is just about durability. But then, you got engine parts flimsier than that inside your car, and they're doing a lot harder work, so maybe, we'll see. Now, the nib is a tubular style nib, much like you would get on a Jinhao 51A. I don't yet know if it's swappable because I have not wanted to mess with taking this pen apart like that yet. But if it is, and I would actually think that it probably is that standard tubular nib that you see on a lot of Chinese pens, well, then you could put an architect nib in here and things like that, and it gives you some options. So, that's a positive, right? I like the green color. Again, does remind me of the old fruit-colored iMacs, kind of cool. I like that. You open the pen up, and again, very, very simple. Here is your proprietary cartridge, which again, you can refill. Right now I have one of the cartridges that came with it so that we can see the actual ink that's provided with the pen, and particularly how it performs. There's no shroud on the moving part around that cartridge. So, be careful putting that in. Don't be too rough with that. Pens without shrouds always make me just a little bit nervous that way because you could make a mistake and break that part of the feed. So just be careful. Lots of pens are that way. It's not unique to this one. But as you can see, it is very simple. Just a spring-loaded mechanism that opens up that door, and of course when it retracts, closes the door. And it's always the retraction that will lead or not lead to dry out. Anywho, that is the basic makeup of the pen. Design-wise, it's not anything groundbreaking aesthetically. It's just kind of a basic office pen. Simple, clean. I actually like that part about the pen. I did wonder if it might possibly leak. Normally with these clickable fountain pens, they'll put it where the nib is up whenever you have it clipped, but they've chosen to put the clip at this end so that it is nibbed down. But I have not. I took the risks several times with my shirts for you, but I've not had any problem. No leakage there or any issue whatsoever. All right, for the size comparison today, I've got, of course, the Writech Clictek and then a Pentel Energel, because again, it has kind of that officey aesthetic, and this really is major competition in a workplace to any of these clickable fountain pens. And then I have here the Jinhao 10, which is greatly inspired, I guess we'll say, by the Pilot Vanishing Point. My Vanishing Point's in another room at the moment. And then we have the Endless Phantom, a recent entry into this space of clickable fountain pens. You can see they're all kind of about the size of the typical gel pen. All right, and then with the nibs extended, you see that again, it's just all pretty standard fare, isn't it? There's not a lot of size variation between these. The gel pen is, funny enough, the longest pen here, but you're going to get about the same thing. Now, what you do have a variance here is in weight, and the Writech probably comes in here in about the middle of the pack. And I got a scale handy. It is 14.5 grams. So a pretty light pen. Again, pretty typical if you're thinking office click pen. All right, let's talk about dry out before we get into the writing test. And in fact, this is going to be a little bit of a dry out test because you've seen me click the pen a whole lot, but I have not written with it yet. And I haven't written with it in about 2 or 3 days on purpose as we go into this. I have done that several times where I've gone 2 or 3 4 days without writing with the pen. The longest was almost a week while I was traveling when I first got the pen. At no time has the pen dried out on me. And I am just shocked, okay? Because I expected this to be like, I have one other clickable pen that cannot go overnight, and that's that Endless Phantom. But I do have a kit that they have sent me that is supposed to fix that. We'll see. I should say I purchased that kit. They didn't just send it to me. That'll be a different video. But this one has had 0 dry out problems. Now maybe I should do a super dry out test and see if it can last a month in the drawer. But as for a week, 2 or 3 days, it has worked flawlessly. Not even a need to dip it in a little bit of distilled water or anything like that. It just has worked. Now the ink, I'm going to tell you, is not exciting. It's just a basic blue ink. Doesn't really stand out in any way, but it hasn't dried out, and the pen has not dried out. And for that, I'm impressed. Now this does bring me, I've got it open. This brings me to something that is not to my liking about the pen, and I just don't like the aesthetic of that cap over there. It feels like a great big wart on the side of the feed there when it's open, and I don't know. It's just, I don't like it, but it's okay. It takes a little getting used to. I guess it does help you with nib orientation on a round pen. That can be helpful for some people. There you go. See, it has written like that every single time. And I really did not expect that. That was a lift on my part, by the way. How do they spell Clictek? It ain't normal. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's all just marketing speak, right? Again, this is a medium nib. And it's a thinner medium, but not too thin. Like the medium on my Phantom is way thinner than I expected it to be. This is perfectly acceptable. Wetness is not bad at all. And again, this is after days of sitting. Ink is just a blue cartridge, the one that they included. Just blue. I haven't tried reverse writing, I don't think. If I did, it was so long ago, I don't remember what happened. I mean, you can do it in a pinch, right? You get an extra fine line. It wasn't very pleasant. There was definitely a little bit of dragginess. That nib is not tuned optimally for reverse writing. Every now and then you get surprised by even a cheap pen that does that excellently. But that's just kind of, in a pinch you could do it. It's not feedbacky, it's not draggy when writing on the right side of the nib. It reminds me of I think something in between a 0.3 and a 0.5 of a platinum preppy nib. That's the way it seems to write to me. Which I would consider to be a good thing. I guess those are cities that come to mind when you're in the middle of winter, right? Let's do the speed test and see how the nib and feed will keep up. This is in real time. All right, I did not lift. I'm going to give myself a scratch and sniff sticker for that. I did not lift today. There is a bit of thin out. And as I mentioned, this is after, days of sitting. So maybe that's a little bit of that effect. But it does get pretty thin on some of those really fast, kind of up and to the right strokes. But there were no skips. And I haven't had issues with that. Again, the pen has written very, very well. So let's get into my likes and my dislikes. So what do I like about the pen? One of the things I like is it actually is a pretty good value. Again, $15. Sometimes it'll climb up to $19, depending on where you buy it. I think they were $17 to $19 on Amazon when I looked the other day. If you're more patient and can wait for AliExpress, you might get a better deal. But that's already a pretty good deal, isn't it, for a clickable fountain pen that's not going to have horrible dry out issues, at least with mine. Now, if you've had other experience, please do put that in the comments so that we get a good record of what other people are experiencing, good, bad, and in the middle. But I think that it's pretty reasonable for a clickable fountain pen. The nib, again, is not anything outstanding, but it is a good, everyday carry office fountain pen. I wouldn't feel bad at all handing this to somebody. In fact, I think it would be cool penabling pen because it's got that click factor. The trap door is a dislike. That's a little bit of an off-putting thing for me, and it will be for some other people too. I'm concerned about the durability, the easiness to break that. That's my concern. Everything else seems fine. But it's a fun pen to maybe show somebody, hey, you know, fountain pens can actually even do this, but it doesn't cost a fortune. As I mentioned, I kind of like that it is a demonstrator, and I like this particular color. It's well put together for what it is. I mean, it's as good as the Pentel and has actually a little bit better feel than that. This feels a little bit lighter and cheaper. And those are good, durable pens. It feels like it would keep up with a Preppy. So if you kind of think about it in that range, it's at least that good, and it might be a lot better than that. I just have to have it longer before I can say that for sure. But the dry out thing really does impress me. It is working. So it might be a little bit goofy in the way that it looks, but form follows function. And if it's actually doing what it's supposed to do, I can overlook the little trap door, and so that's okay. You know, the only other little niggle I would have with it is that the cartridges are proprietary, and maybe they felt they needed to do that to have a more reinforced cartridge since it handles the pressing of the knock. You know, the Vanishing point has you put a metal cover over the cartridge for that, so maybe there's something going on with durability there that they felt they needed to do that. I don't know, but I can refill cartridges. That doesn't bother me. It's not that big a deal. It's not a deal breaker, let me put it that way. It is not converter compatible. This pen is strictly a cartridge pen. But it works. It works. There you go. It may not be your cup of tea. It's not a pretty pen. It doesn't have great aesthetics. There's no history behind it. You know, it's not going to appeal to somebody who is more of a pen snob. But if you're just looking for a practical clickable pen, or if you want to see if a clickable pen of any kind is good for you and you don't want to put a lot of investment into it, give it a shot. Like it, don't like it. You haven't lost that much. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. And as always, God bless you. I hope you have a really wonderful week. And I'll see you in the next video.